Scholarship application season will be wrapping up by mid-June, but because too few students apply every year, millions of dollars will be left on the table when they head to school in the fall. Here to help us take advantage of these opportunities is personal finance expert Lesley-Anne. Lesley-Anne, always nice to have you on Alberta Primetime.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first off, why don't more post-secondary students apply? Like, what's holding them back?
So common claims from students are that the application process is quite arduous, or they think they need to have very high marks or be in some kind of financially precarious position. Turns out, though, that only 1/3 of scholarships are in fact arduous or require you to have high grades or be in a terrible financial position. The other 2/3 are on the table and up for grabs. So what we want to try to do here is dispel those myths and encourage students to take advantage of the other 2/3 of scholarship dollars that are available.
Okay, I think you have their attention here, everybody watching. So where does someone start, though?
So the first place I recommend for a student is to go straight to what we call aggregator databases. This is where private scholarships are located, and I'm going to list a few here. Scholarships Canada, Universities Canada, and Wyconic are 3 of the largest aggregator databases for scholarships. What's going to have the students' attention, though, is when they go to these pages, they're going to see advertisements for some of the largest Canadian scholarships that are available to them. And that's exciting. So what they'll need to do is they'll need to get registered with one of these databases and then set their criteria based on geography and their field of study. One of the things I have to put out there is there on these databases, on their home pages, you can find out that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars available for these students. And some of the largest corporations in Canada, like TELUS, RBC, TD, Knowledge First Financial, they all have massive scholarship dollars that they're advertising right on the front pages of these aggregator databases.
Yeah, I took a look myself, leading up to this, and there's just so many. So how do you know which ones to even apply for?
So what I would suggest is filter based on field of study first. Then determine, okay, so of the 100 that are available, which ones are the biggest amounts? And I would focus energy on the ones where a student could qualify for the largest amounts. While you're doing the application, though, it's very important to read the rules and the criteria. So as the student is preparing their message for that application, that they are really catering to what the application is asking for, so that no mistakes are made. The other thing I have to draw attention to is I'm often asked, are there funds available for returning students or mature students or graduate students? There's actually more money available for what we call mature students returning back to school, but it's going to take time to set those filters. Anywhere between 5 and 25 hours worth of research is going to be required.
Okay, it sounds like a lot of time, though, and I think that's what makes some people deterred, right? They think it's so much work.
I do think it does deter people, but if you're ambitious and you are looking for a way to access some free money, in my opinion, it is definitely worth spending the time. And I can speak from firsthand experience. I have 2 degrees and went to school between 2005 and 2012. And during that time, I applied for 21 different scholarships. Because I took time with them and made it almost a full-time job, I won 5 of those scholarships, and that accounted for 30% of my educational costs. So in my opinion, it was worth every hour and, of course, every penny going to school.
Okay, yeah, so it pays off to do the work, and maybe that's something that parents should put in the minds of their adult children as they're preparing, that it is worth it, right?
I would consider it a full-time job, especially if a student is, let's say, not with a summer job right now. Then their attention should be turned 2 scholarship applications. Again, they have until the middle of June for some of Canada's largest applications. The other place I would really encourage those students to spend time looking and also researching at the school that they're registered. They have financial aid offices, and within those offices, you can be paired with an advisor to help you with your search. So if you're really stumped with those aggregators, you can go to a financial aid office and they'll actually search for you.
Well, that almost sounds like a no-brainer, right?
Yes.
And this can just really make a huge difference. As you said, it helped you 30% of your cost right there.
That's right. It can take thousands of dollars away from the burden of tuition and books. And let's face it, students these days are graduating with significant amounts of debt that they can reduce. In the fall, we talked a little bit about some recent research from Ipsos and Knowledge First Financial, and it pointed to the fact that over 40% of students are going to be relying heavily on student loans. Now they have another option. If you don't want to saddle up with all of that debt, you can turn to actively pursuing scholarships during this time.
Okay, I think you've motivated a lot of people. Thank you, Lesley. We'll let everybody get off now and start clicking away.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Lesley-Anne, personal finance expert, joining us from Calgary.